I think is very important to discuss today, especially as a creator, but also for you guys as consumers, is how to understand how these platforms use algorithms to keep you engaged as long as possible. Namaskar. Hello. My name is Paula, and just wanted to get a feel of the room here. How many of you know about Bharipa? Not bad, okay. Probably we've been doing a good job this year, so that's good to hear. For those of you who are not familiar, Bharipa is our pet name for Bharatiya Digital Party. And it's a name that we came up with in 2016 when my partners, Sarang and Anusha Nandakumar, we decided to start a channel to do Marathi language content on YouTube and Facebook. The inception of Bharipa was mainly because we saw a lot of potential in Marathi language and the kinds of content that could be done, and we felt that Marathi audiences, particularly youth, were not being served the kind of content that they might be wanting to watch. So they're waking up on Monday morning to watch the new episode of Game of Thrones, but when they go home, they are turning on TV and it's your regular Sasbahu daily soaps. And the disconnect was there, and we felt that there was a hole that needed to be filled, and that was why we started Bharipa. Long story short. So what I'm going to be talking about today is not so much about our origin story or how we kind of came up with the whole idea, but I'm going to go a little more into something which is extremely relevant for all of us today, and that is functioning in a digital space which is dominated and ruled by algorithms. So just to give you a quick snapshot of who we are as a channel, some of you may be surprised by the numbers, some of you may not be surprised by the numbers, but this is the kind of audience that we have. It's a lot of youth between 18 and 34, fairly balanced male-female ratio, and that's something which we didn't start out as. We started out as about 70% male and 30% female, which we've slowly sort of worked our way out of. And we are present, mainly Facebook and YouTube are where we put our content, and we also promote and have a lot of stuff up on Instagram, and we use some of these other platforms as well, like ShareChat, Twitter. But mainly we're a video-based platform, and we use a lot of social media to promote our stuff. Now, what all of these platforms have in common and what makes our journey as content creators different than a filmmaker or a television director is that we don't have a captive audience. We have to put our content out there, it has to get noticed, and it has to be shared in order for people to watch it. And all of these platforms have one thing in common: algorithms. But they're not the same algorithm, which is something that we came to learn. We didn't start out as experts in the digital space whatsoever. None of us had any sort of training or background in digital marketing, social media. It's all been sort of learn as you go. And a big thing which I think is very important to discuss today, especially as a creator, but also for you guys as consumers, is how to understand how these platforms use algorithms to keep you engaged as long as possible. And the reason why there's Donald Trump on there is because he's there to act as a reminder that when he was first elected as the American president — I'm Canadian, by the way, not American. Don't get confused. When he was elected as president, it came as a really big shock for the whole liberal bubble that was there on social media, all my friends were like, how did this happen? I'm not a fan, I'm sorry, but I'm not really a fan. I can say that, right? How did it happen? How did Donald Trump be elected as president? How did we not see this coming? And the answer lies in algorithms. Because the way that these platforms work is they see you as a consumer and as a product, and they want to keep your eyeballs on the platform as long as possible, so they show you stuff that you agree with. They show you stuff that you already like. They show you stuff that your friend circle likes. And it's human nature to sort of reject whatever's unfamiliar, whatever we don't like. I don't know how many of you have recently put up posts on your Facebook walls saying, if you believe in this and this and this, unfriend me. It happens, and it's something that we have to be aware of, because the more we isolate ourselves from ideas that we don't agree with, the more we're putting ourselves at risk of being surprised by something coming out of left field later on. So we put up our content on Facebook and YouTube, and an important thing to remember is that Facebook is a social media platform, it's very social, and YouTube is primarily a video platform. And that's why the algorithms are different. YouTube is also owned by Google, Facebook owns Instagram, so they kind of have their two separate bundles, and Facebook and Instagram prioritize content which your friends have liked, which your friends have shared, and they're more likely to show you your best friend's birthday posts than show you our Bharipa video, unless you've liked and followed our page. So that's what we're fighting against on Facebook, to be seen as content creators. And on YouTube, it's video first, and they throw in some social bits and extras as well. But the way that they try to get your content out there is through relevancy, whatever's got high viewership and high engagement. But both of them want you to be on as long as possible. So how do we do that? Well, when we started Bharipa, we didn't know any of this. We just knew that we wanted to make videos that we liked, that we thought other people would like, and that's when we started our first channel, Bharipa, in April 2016, and we wanted to make comedy and entertainment content. A year later, we started our second channel, Bhatupa, Bharatiya Touring Party, our channel for travel, lifestyle, food-related content, with the intention of trying to kind of diversify the stuff that's out there, We also, beyond comedy, we like food shows, we like to travel, and we wanted to show that kind of content in a context that would be relevant for Marathi-speaking people. And then just last year, 366 days ago, we launched our third channel, Vishay Khol. And I'm going to be talking a lot about Vishay Khol later. But Vishay Khol, we started out as a news and infotainment channel, particularly because we wanted to make this one show called Lokmanch, where we're talking about politics. Each channel has developed its own formats, and this is where the design bit kind of comes in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, on the micro and the macro level, how we go about design with our content on Bharipa and on Vishay Khol. And to start off with something nice and easy, we've started out with probably our most popular series, and which is the series which has kind of made us go viral about 2 years ago, called I and Me and Mom. It's a typical Marathi middle-class household, Pune-based, so it's very relatable amongst our market, and it's also family-friendly, which is great because you can show it to your parents, you can show it to your kids, so that's the number one thing which makes this content particularly shareable. But when you're thinking of doing a show, and when you're thinking about doing content, what we learned was a few specific things we have to keep in mind when we're thinking about it from the idea to the final packaging of it. Now, this particular video is Mom privacy, and me. And the inception of this idea actually didn't come from a video that we wanted to make. It came from a brand who wanted to sponsor a video with us. It's an audiobook brand, and the challenge that we had was that there was not really any brief. We had to think, how are we going to promote something which shuts you out, isolates you, you put headphones on, and you can't hear people around you? So the thought obviously went to, when would you ever want to do that? It's when you want some privacy. It's a time when you want to have some personal space, be with yourself, and there's nothing more relatable in India than a need for privacy. So that was where the germ of the idea came from. We had played around with the I and Me format before, but we hadn't had a lot of success with it. This was our first really major viral video. And with the idea of privacy, we decided that we'll have the kids wanting to get privacy from their mother. They give her this audiobook app, and she gets so into it, eventually she starts to neglect her kids. And they start bothering her, and she's the one who eventually wants to have that privacy. So we sort of flip the story, and that's just, a generic video idea. Anybody could come up with an idea like this. But what makes a video work is there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. When you're talking to brands and when you're talking to platforms, they often say, you got to grab the audience's attention in the first 3 seconds. That's really difficult to do. 3 seconds is not a lot of time, and as a content creator, as a storyteller, it's not really something that you want to put on yourself and put that pressure on your writers. But what we've done is we've applied the same logic that happens with television. If you see a television show, a lot of comedies start with something called a cold open. And a cold open is just a funny scene, a joke, something really relatable, which gives you an idea as to what is the theme of the overall video. Then you can have your titles, then you can have your sponsor names, then you can have all of that stuff come in. But a cold open is really essential because that is how you're going to grab your audience. So don't start your videos with something like a fade up from black. Don't start it off with logos, don't start it off with titles. The best thing you can do is start immediately with a scene. I'm going to play the video, the first opening scene after this, so you'll get a sense of how that works. The other thing is when you're doing a brand video, you have to make sure you don't make it into an advertisement, because you have to respect the fact that, yes, there's a brand who's giving you money to promote their brand on your content, but they want to promote on your content because you have an audience that they want to reach out to, and you have to respect that audience and make sure that they don't get put off by having too much advertising in your face. And when you're finishing the video, once you've got all of your jokes out, once you've got your story, it's always good to close on something which is shareable, whether it's directly calling out to the audience, called a CTA, call to action, saying please share, please like, subscribe, or you end with something really relatable or a really funny joke. It's always good to end on that, because once people finish watching your video, the first thing you want them to think of is, I have to share this with my friends. And next, after you've put your video out online, pay attention to the comments. Because in the comments, you're going to see what did your fans think were the best lines in your video, the best dialogues, and then you can use it again in the next video, and that's called a callback. So some of you might know the word shastrastate. Our new one, majishi need bolaita. These are callbacks. So these are things that we've picked up, and it really works because it creates a relationship with the audience in your content. And so these are all really important things that you can keep in mind when you're designing your videos to go in a digital social media space. So we'll just play this video, and you can get a sense as to how it's worked in this first video that we made that went viral.
आई अगं रोज काय रूम साफ करायची?
रोज नाही, मागच्या शनिवारी केली होती.
माझा जन्म काय हनुमान जयंतीला झाला होता का?
का?
मग शनिवारचं काय? आई कपाट नको उघडू प्लीज.
कसे ठेवलेत रे कपडे? धुवायचे, इस्त्रीचे, नवे जुने जरा कप्पे करावेत रे.
काय लायब्ररी आहे का कपड्यांची? तू ताईच्या रूम मध्ये जाऊन घाल. गोंधळ.
वास येतोय.
काय?
पोट साफ होत नाहीये का सध्या?
आई तुझ्या अशा प्रश्नांचं उत्तर देणं मी 8वीत सोडलंय.
उद्या सुट्टी आहे ना तुला?
हो.
मग एक चमचा एरंडेल देऊ का?
आई तू वेडी झालीयस का?
ए आई हे बघ एवढं बास आहे का?
जुई तू एरंडेल पिणार आहेस?
मग काय करू? ती प्यायला तयार झाले म्हणून तरी रूमच्या बाहेर गेली, नाहीतर अख्ख्या रूम मध्ये उलथं पालत केली असती.
उलथा पालत?
मग
कसले भयानक शब्द वापरतीयस? साफ सफाई असा छान शब्द आहे त्याला.
अगं पण तू आम्हाला काही प्रायव्हसी देणार आहेस का? हे उचल, ते उघड, हे ढकल, हे काय चाललंय?
प्रायव्हसी
हो.
तुम्हाला?
होय.
लहानपणी ढुंगणात धुतली आहेत तुमची आणि आता प्रायव्हसी हवी आहे तुम्हाला?
आता या डिस्कशन मध्ये जर का तू माझं लहानपणीचं ढुंगण काढणार असशील तर मी काय बोलावं?
ढुंगण?
Thank you. So some of you might have seen this before, some of you may have not, but the video goes on for another 10 minutes, and you can go watch it later if you want to see some more, and there's subtitles online. So you can see with the video, it's important to make sure that you have, that initial cold open, capturing the theme of the video of privacy. And another thing is that you should keep in mind is your thumbnails. Thumbnails are a very important way to get your content across online. Though they depend on which platform you're using them. One important thing to keep in mind is that on Facebook, most people have the automatic settings set so that when you're scrolling, the video starts playing automatically, in which case the first few images of your video are really important. But on YouTube, most of us see the thumbnail before we decide to click on it. And that thumbnail is basically your advertisement. It's your poster, it's your hoarding, and that's how people will decide to come and watch your video. So you got to get your message across really quickly. So now I'm going to go into a little bit of a bigger macro level discussion on how the content planning and the design of your content works on a channel level. And one thing happened about a year and a half ago. We had an idea that, like I was talking about, the way that algorithms are working for society nowadays, a lot of young people don't really get an option to look and see things that they don't agree with. If you've been raised in a family which believes in one philosophy, it's very unlikely nowadays that you're going to come across something which is counter to that philosophy. And sometimes it's good to come across things which challenge your ideas. I'm sure you guys understand this. It's a design festival, so everything here is about challenging people. And we wanted to do something about this with politics because we knew that the Indian elections was going to be coming up. And we thought, let's take a look and see, what do youth think about politics? What do they think about media coverage of politics in India? And can we come up with something that will make it more approachable? So the problem that we tried to tackle was looking at a news channel. For me, as a Canadian, it was very loud. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's people yelling, there's people screaming, and I just want to, listen to a nice, calm, civilized conversation. But that wasn't really available unless it was, in a one-on-one interview kind of a setting, and you really didn't see it very much in the media. We also did some research and found out that Maharashtrian youth in particular, most of them get their news through social media first. They don't really read the newspapers. They don't even necessarily follow the pages of news broadcasters. So as you get even younger, it gets a little worse. And a lot of youth today don't even see news on social media. They see influencers talking about issues and take that as their opinion. And that is from research. That's not just our ideas. This is something that we experienced on ground by polling people. So the solution we thought would be, okay, let's do something feed-based, let's do something online, and we need to make it accessible, so why don't we have a conversation directly between youth and politicians and give them a chance to ask the questions that have been sitting in their mind, but they never thought to ask, because you would never really get access that way. And that is where we came up with the idea for Lokmanch.
कुठं बी जायचं म्हणलं की 3-3 किलोमीटर चालायला लागते उन्हातानातनं. मुंबई पुण्याला मेट्रो आली, आमच्याकडे बस कधी येणार विचारायचं तर कुणीच नाही इथं.
शाळेला आजकाल टीव्हीवर हेडलाईन्स आणि भांडणाच्या पलीकडे दुसरं काहीच कळत नाही. मला देशाच्या राजकारणात नक्की काय चालू आहे हे जाणून घ्यायचं आहे.
मी गेले वर्षभर रिसर्च करते आणि माझ्याकडे एक प्लॅन आहे. ही नदी आपण 3 वर्षात स्वच्छ करू शकतो. आपल्याकडची ड्रेनेज सिस्टीम अपडेट करायला हवी.
गावाकडनं कामासाठी इथे येऊन मला 7 महिने झाले. गावाकडं आई एकटीच असते. आता एवढ्याशा पगारात तिला इकडं आणायची सोय नाही, आणि गावाकडं थांबावं तर तिकडं कामही नाही पैसाही नाही.
कुणाला विचारायचं आणि आमचं कोण ऐकते?
आमचं कोण ऐकतंय?
आणि माझं कोण ऐकणार?
आमचं कोण ऐकतोय?
तुम्हालाही असंच वाटतंय का? आमचं कोण ऐकतंय?
तुम्ही बोला, महाराष्ट्र ऐकतोय.
आम्ही घेऊन येतोय महाराष्ट्राच्या प्रमुख नेत्यांना तुमच्या शहरामध्ये
भाडीपा लोकमंचवर.
तुमच्या मनातले प्रश्न आम्ही त्यांच्यापर्यंत पोहोचवण्याचा निश्चितच प्रयत्न करू.
आता आरडाओरडा, भांडण, गोंधळ खूप झालं.
आता चर्चा करूयात
महाराष्ट्रातल्या खऱ्या प्रश्नांविषयी.
आमची रिसर्च टीम, म्हणजे खरीवाली रिसर्च टीम,
तुमच्या शहरात फिरून शोध घेतेय तुम्हाला सतावणाऱ्या प्रश्नांचा.
ऑनलाईन पोलमध्ये मतदान करून तुम्ही प्रत्यक्षरित्या यामध्ये सहभागी होऊ शकता.
हा कार्यक्रम आम्ही YouTube लाईव्हद्वारे थेट तुमच्यापर्यंत आणणार.
तेव्हा कार्यक्रम चालू असताना सुद्धा तुम्ही तुमचे प्रश्न आमच्यापर्यंत पोहोचवू शकता. ऐकूयात महाराष्ट्राच्या प्रमुख नेत्यांना काय वाटतंय महाराष्ट्राविषयी.
आम्ही तयार आहोत. तुम्ही तयार आहात?
भेटूया भाडीपाच्या लोकमंचवर तुमच्या शहरात.
So Lokmanch as an idea was probably the most ambitious thing we've done as Bharipa, because not only are we doing videos, we're doing them live, we're doing them in auditoriums with multiple cameras, and we're dealing with politicians. And what we wanted to do was, it's very scary, to talk to politicians, and that's why we decided, let's get away from the idea that we will talk about the issues that we think the youth should hear. And we decided to take what we had learned from social media, from making videos online, which was listening to the audience and taking audience inputs is the best way to determine how to shape your content. And we ended up doing that with we would send a researcher out on ground. We would send a researcher out on the ground. That researcher would talk to youth in that area, compile a long list of 30 different questions. We put that questionnaire online. We got our fans to vote for the questions they wanted to ask to which politician. We got a short list. Then we took our politician, we did a 1-hour live stream with them, with a live audience, with some live questions. We had our host mediating, and we also had an online audience, which made it a lot easier for people to ask questions that maybe they wouldn't be comfortable asking in person. And we would sort of curate the best questions out of that and ask that to the politician. But we couldn't do this on Bharipa because Bharipa was a comedy platform. And we didn't know who was going to pay for it because we knew brands weren't going to be interested. Politics is too volatile for a brand to get involved with. And that was when we figured, okay, who's going to want to see this kind of content online? Who's going to want to support it and pay for it? That's when we actually went and approached YouTube, our partner managers at YouTube, and said, hey, we have an idea. And they said, Great timing, we've just opened up applications for this new thing called the Google News Innovation Fund. So thank God for that, otherwise this project wouldn't have happened. And the Google News Innovation Fund is just there to support creators and broadcasters, researchers, people who do statistics, support them to make the digital video space a better place to explore news and politics and encourage people to do more stuff on YouTube with news. And we polled our audience, trying to keep true to the idea we had, to ask the audience first. And we got an overwhelming response, 11,000 votes, that we should definitely not get into politics. But we already had the funding, so they didn't know that. We decided, okay, we can't do it on Bharipa, but we'll start another channel. And in order to get our subscribers onto our new channel for politics, we had a launch strategy. So we did our most famous format, I and Me, and we did I, Me, and Politics, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 went on Bharipa, and it introduced the whole idea of politics within the household. How do you talk about politics with your parents? And then Part 2, the conclusion of the video, went up on the new channel with an announcement that, yes, Bharipa's getting into this, and you can subscribe to this channel. We had, I think, 4 or 5 videos ready with us on our launch day so that people, when they went to the new channel, could see the variety of content that we wanted to put out there. In the first week, we got 35,000 subscribers on YouTube. Mainly, they crossed over from Bharipa, but I think that was a good strategy and it worked really well for us. We, apart from Lokmanch, wanted to do a variety of content and just kind of experiment and see what formats worked for getting information across to youth in an unbiased way so that they could feel like this video was approachable, like they didn't have to be an expert and already know about politics to get into it. And one format which worked really well for that was Dandigul, which was an office quiz format where everybody in our office ends up looking like an idiot because we don't know the answers to very basic questions. So sometimes when you're trying to get information across to people, the best way you can do it is by establishing that common ground that it's okay if you don't know, even we don't know, but let's find out together. Lokmanch, there was a slight, I'll just go back so you don't read that. There was a slight oversight that we made in the design of Lokmanch, and that goes back into algorithms. We had the intention that we will show 6 politicians. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up in a minute. We had 6 politicians from 6 different political parties, and the intention was to get those politicians to share their views, answer questions from youth, and youth would have a chance to see 6 different political perspectives and decide which one did they want to get on board with. The problem was that with algorithms, YouTube, the very people who were funding it, their algorithm was serving the content to people that already agreed with it. So, an Aditya Thackeray video was mainly viewed by people who already liked Aditya Thackeray. Supriya Sule was already seen by people who already liked Supriya Sule. And a lot of stuff like Raju Shetty, a smaller, lesser-known regional farmers' rights politician, didn't get much of a traction because of the algorithms. So we decided, looking back on it, next time, if we're going to do it again, the best thing we could do would be to do a debate format and get all 6 formats, all 6 perspectives into one video, and that would be a much more effective way of getting the information across. The second thing was that at the end of the day, Vishay Khol as a channel has to sustain after the Google News Innovation funding runs out, which means that we need to have enough subscribers, we need to have enough kinds of content that brands would want to associate with before the funding is over. And that was when we realized that we kind of have to keep politics to the side now that the elections are over and start focusing on other things that are information and entertainment related. So what we did was go back again to the drawing board And we asked our audience, it's 2020, it's been a year, what do you want to see next? And that is the phase that we are in now. So I just want to close this discussion by saying a big thank you to the Pune Design Fest. It's been a real honor. Thank you for asking me to come and be a speaker here. I really appreciate it, and I'll be hanging around for questions after, if you have any. Thank you.